So I was at this barbecue last weekend. One of those backyard things where everyone's standing around, holding a beer, pretending to care about someone's new grill. And this guy, let's call him Mike, he's telling me about his buddy who just got engaged. Big ring, big party, big plans. And Mike goes, Man, Dave spent like 3 months researching that engagement ring, visited 12 stores, watched comparison videos, read reviews, made spreadsheets. And I'm standing there thinking, spreadsheets for a ring. Then Mike says, But hey, at least he's being smart about it, right? And that's when it hit me. Dave spent 3 months analyzing a piece of jewelry, a rock, something that, let's be honest, depreciates the second you walk out the store. But you know what Dave didn't spend 3 months researching? The actual marriage contract he's about to sign. The legal document that determines what happens to literally everything he owns. His house, his retirement, his future income, his kids, everything. 3 months on a ring, 0 hours on the contract. And look, I get it. Nobody wants to think about that stuff when they're in love. It kills the vibe. It feels unromantic. It feels like you're already planning for things to go wrong. But here's what I've learned, and this might sting a little bit. Being naive is not romantic. It's just expensive. See, most people think marriage is just a relationship upgrade. Like going from dating to official. You get a ring, you throw a party, you post it on Instagram, and boom, you're married. Nothing really changes except maybe your taxes. Right? Wrong. So wrong. Marriage isn't just a relationship status. It's a legal contract, and not just any contract. It's probably the most significant financial agreement you'll ever sign in your entire life. More impactful than your mortgage. More binding than any business deal. And here's the kicker. You didn't write it. Your spouse didn't write it. Some politicians in your state legislature wrote it. People you've never met. People who don't know your name, your situation, or your values. They decided the rules, and you just agreed to all of them without reading a single page. Now, I'm not here to tell you not to get married. That's not my thing. I'm also not here to give you investment advice or tell you what to do with your money. That's between you and your financial advisor. What I am here to do is show you the math that nobody does before saying, I do. The numbers that could literally change how you think about one of the biggest decisions of your life. My name is Dom, by the way. And if this kind of real talk about money, relationships, and the stuff nobody wants to discuss is something you're into, if you're the type of person who'd rather know the truth even when it's uncomfortable, then hit that subscribe button. Because this channel is basically a support group for people who are tired of being financially clueless. And trust me, we're just getting started. All right, let's get into it. So here's a fun fact that's not fun at all. About 50% of first marriages in America end in divorce. Half. Flip a coin, that's your odds. And you'd think people would get better at it the second time around, right? Learn from their mistakes? Nope. Second marriages fail at around 60%. Third marriages? 73%. The more you do it, the worse you get at it. Name me literally any other skill in life where that's true. I'll wait. But okay, let's say you're not thinking about divorce. You're in love. You've found your person. Cool. I believe you. But let me ask you something anyway. If I came to you right now and said, Hey, I've got this investment opportunity. There's a 50% chance you lose half of everything you own. And if you lose, you also have to keep paying the other person monthly for years, maybe decades. Would you put money into that? You'd laugh me out of the room. You'd say, Dom, that's the worst investment I've ever heard of. And you'd be right. But here's the thing. You might have already made that investment. You just called it a wedding. Now, I know what you're thinking. But Dom, my relationship is different. We're solid. We communicate. We're not like other couples. And hey, maybe you're right. I genuinely hope you are. But you know who else thought that? Every single person who's currently going through a divorce. Every single one of them stood at that altar completely convinced it would last forever. So let's just run the numbers. Not because I'm pessimistic, but because I think you deserve to know what you're actually signing up for. Let's start with the obvious stuff, the direct costs. The average divorce in America costs somewhere between $15,000 and $30,000. That's just legal fees, paperwork, mediation, all that administrative nonsense. If things get ugly and you end up in a contested divorce with lawyers fighting over everything, you could easily hit 100,000. I've seen cases go way higher than that. And here's something kind of ironic. The average American wedding also costs about $30,000. So essentially, you pay 30 grand to get married, and then another 30 grand to undo it. You're paying twice for the same mistake. It's like buying a gym membership and then paying a trainer to help you quit. But that's just the direct cost. The legal fees, the paperwork, that's the small stuff. The real cost? That's the asset division. And this is where things get genuinely painful. Let me paint you a picture. Let's say you and your spouse have built up about $1 million in combined assets over your marriage. House, retirement accounts, investments, savings, whatever. $1 million. You split up. Simple math says you each walk away with $500,000, right? 50-50? Not even close. By the time you pay both lawyers, by the time you're forced to sell the house quickly because neither of you can buy the other out, by the time you deal with taxes on liquidating investments at the wrong time, you're not walking away with $500,000. You're walking away with maybe $400,000, maybe less. You just lost 20% of your net worth to friction, to the process of splitting up, not to your ex, to the system. But wait, it gets better. And by better, I mean worse. Let's talk about your retirement accounts, your 401k, your IRA. The money you've been putting away so you can actually retire someday instead of working until you're 85. When you divorce, those accounts get split too. There's this thing called a QDRO, a Qualified Domestic Relations Order. Basically a legal document that says your retirement savings are now your ex's retirement savings too. So let's say you're 35 years old. You've been responsible. You've maxed out contributions. You've got $300,000 in your 401k. You divorce, your ex gets half, 150 grand. Now, that might not sound catastrophic. I mean, you still have 150,000, right? You can rebuild. But here's what you're not seeing. That 150,000 wasn't just money. It was time. It was 30 years of compound growth that you just handed away. Let me do the math for you. $150,000 at 7% annual returns for 30 years turns into about $1.1 million, over $1 million from a single divorce settlement. You didn't lose $150,000. You lost the future millionaire version of yourself. And most people don't even realize it until they're 62, looking at their retirement account, wondering why it's so much smaller than they expected. Now let's talk about the gift that keeps on taking. Alimony, spousal support, whatever you want to call it. Alimony is basically a subscription service for your ex that you can't cancel. You just keep paying, month after month, year after year, sometimes for the rest of your life. In many states, if you've been married for 10 years or more, alimony can be permanent. Not 10 years of payments, permanent. As in, you could be 75 years old, retired, on a fixed income, and still writing checks to someone you haven't seen in decades. Let's say you get divorced at 35. If you're on the hook for lifetime alimony, that's potentially 40 years of payments. That's longer than most careers. That's longer than some people have been alive. And I haven't even mentioned child support yet. That's a whole other layer. Different formulas in every state, but generally you're looking at 20 to 30% of your income per child for 18 years minimum, sometimes longer if they go to college. Do that math. $2,000 a month for 18 years. That's $432,000. Just in child support. For one kid. Add alimony on top of that. Add the asset division. Add the legal fees. We're not talking about losing some money anymore. We're talking about a complete financial restructuring of your entire life. Okay, so now that I've thoroughly depressed you, let's talk about the part that really bugs me. The contract itself. See, when you get married, you're not just making a promise to another person. You're signing a legal agreement with your state government. And the terms of that agreement? You don't get to negotiate them. They're already written. They've been decided by legislators, judges, legal precedents going back decades. In 9 states, including big ones like California and Texas, you're in what's called a community property state. That means everything acquired during the marriage belongs to both of you equally. 50-50. Doesn't matter who earned it, doesn't matter who saved it, doesn't matter who sacrificed for it. You work 80-hour weeks building a business while your spouse binge watches shows? 50-50. You save every penny while your spouse maxes out credit cards on stuff you never wanted? 50-50. You turn 50,000 into $500,000 through smart investing while your spouse can't explain what an index fund is? Congrats, they get 250,000. And here's where really smart people mess themselves up. Commingling assets. Let's say you came into the marriage with $200,000, your own money, pre-marriage, legally yours, protected. Great. Then you get married and you think, hey, we're a team now, we should have a joint account. So you deposit your $200,000 into the shared account. Boom. It's not yours anymore. The second that money touches a joint account, it becomes marital property. You just gave away $100,000 with a single bank transfer, and most people don't even realize they did it. Here's how I think about marriage as a contract. Imagine you're starting a business with a partner. This partner can quit the business whenever they want, for any reason, no notice required. When they quit, they automatically get 50% of everything the business has ever earned. And you also have to keep paying them a salary after they leave, for years, maybe forever. Would you sign that partnership agreement? Of course not. No sane person would. But that's essentially what a marriage license is in most states. Now, let's talk about the word nobody wants to say. Prenup, a prenuptial agreement. The thing that everyone thinks is somehow unromantic or pessimistic, or a sign that you don't trust your partner. Let me ask you something. You have car insurance, right? Does that mean you're planning to crash your car? You have health insurance. Are you hoping to get sick? You have homeowner's insurance. Are you planning for your house to burn down? No, of course not. Insurance is just being prepared for things you hope never happen. So why is a prenup different? Why is protecting your financial future somehow morally wrong when every other form of protection is totally normal? A prenup costs somewhere between $3,000 and $7,000. A divorce without a prenup can cost you $50,000, $100,000, $500,000, potentially millions over your lifetime when you factor in alimony and asset division. That's not even an investment. That's just math. Spend $5,000 now or potentially lose 50 times that later. And yet, people will spend $5,000 on wedding flowers without blinking. But the prenup conversation? That's too uncomfortable. Here's what's actually crazy, though. Couples who have prenup conversations have lower divorce rates than couples who don't. Not higher, lower. Because having that conversation forces you to talk about money, values, expectations, the future, all the stuff that actually matters. The couples who refuse to have those conversations, the ones who think it's unromantic, those are the couples who end up fighting over a couch in divorce court because they never learned how to talk about the hard stuff. So, what do you actually do with all this information? First, before you get married, do your due diligence. You wouldn't buy a used car without checking the Carfax. So why would you merge your entire financial life with someone without knowing their credit score, their debt, their financial history? I'm not saying you need to audit your partner like they're a corporation, but you should at least know the basics. What do they owe? What's their relationship with money? Do they save or spend? Have they ever been bankrupt? Second, have the prenup conversation. And here's exactly how you frame it. I love you. I want to be with you forever. And because I want that, I want us to design our own agreement instead of leaving it up to the state. This protects both of us. If they freak out, that tells you something important before you sign anything. If they're reasonable about it, congratulations. You just found someone mature enough to have adult conversations. That's actually a good sign for the marriage. Third, keep your stuff separate. At least the stuff that was yours before the marriage. Don't mix premarital assets into joint accounts. Keep records, keep documentation. It's not about hiding things from your partner, it's about maintaining clarity if things ever go wrong. And finally, understand the laws in your state. Are you in a community property state? What are the default rules for asset division? For alimony? For everything? The more you know, the better decisions you can make. Look, I'm not here to scare you away from marriage. Some people have amazing marriages that last forever. I hope that's you. I genuinely do. But I also know that hoping for the best while being completely ignorant of the risks is not a strategy. It's just gambling with your financial future. You can be romantic with your heart and rational with your money. Those aren't opposites. In fact, the strongest marriages I've seen are the ones where both people treat the partnership like what it actually is. A partnership, a joint venture, a team that actually communicates about the hard stuff. So yeah, run the numbers before you run down the aisle, because that aisle might run you over on the way back if you're not paying attention. That's all I've got for today. If this opened your eyes even a little bit, if it made you think about something you hadn't considered before, then we did something useful here. I'll see you in the next one.